Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I think so. I think that Archer came over. People forget. I mean, he was in the midst of one of the worst years of his career coming over here. And just getting thrown into a different team where you're facing new hitters, you have new catchers. It's kind of hard for pitchers to adjust. More often than not, I mean, some guys, everyone likes to remember, like the CC Sabathia trade to the Brewers, and he just goes off, or Justin Verlander goes to the Houston Astros and does super well. And, that's great. Sometimes that works out. But more often than not, guys struggle when they're a starting pitcher going to a new team, facing new hitters, unfamiliar with the catcher, who calls a different kind of game. The bullpen's managed differently. You're not comfortable with the manager. It's a new mound. It's a new stadium. It's a whole bunch of change. This guy's played for the same team his whole life. So I think now that he's got that half season, that quarter season, I guess, really, under his belt with Pittsburgh, I think that this year he is far more acclimated. He's ready to, have Cervelli and Diaz behind the plate. He's, integrated into Searage's system, and I think that they're going to be able to use him as a weapon, the weapon that he is, which is a guy who can go deep into ball games and a guy who can strike batters out. Two things that they really didn't have much of aside from Tyone last year. They had guys who could get outs, and they had guys who could, limit runs, but they didn't have someone aside from Tyone and maybe Musgrove that could go deep into ball games and rack up a lot of strikeouts. That's something that I think he can provide when he's at his best.
Now, Trevor Williams was a pleasant surprise last year, but the projections I'm seeing this year have him not doing so well. Do you think he'll do as well as last year?
I mean, he's not going to do as well as he did in the second half of last year. He statistically had one of the best seasons ever in the second half of the season.
Yeah, that was
insane.
Year.
He's not going to have an ERA under 2. I could say that. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. That'd be awesome. I mean, Trevor's a cool dude, but I think Trevor Williams is a very good pitcher, and people don't understand why, because he's not 6'5". He doesn't throw 100 miles an hour, and he doesn't have lethal breaking stuff. He's just a smart, good pitcher. He's a above average 3 starter in the major leagues, if you ask me, and he's someone that will get you 6 innings. He will get you into the 6th inning every time, and there will be less than 3 runs on the scoreboard when he does so, more often than not. And that's what you can ask for. I think Trevor Williams, it's completely acceptable or to believe that he can deliver you a year with 10-plus wins and an ERA under 3. And if he can do that, then that's all you want. Maybe not an ERA under 3, but an ERA under 3.50. Just, he's not going to have as good of a year as last year, but he's not going to suck like some of these projections are saying. They just think that last year was a fluke, when in reality, if you look at the second half of his season from 2 years ago, the second half of the 2017 season, he was very good there too. I think he just takes a while to get moving, and once he gets moving and he gets into a groove, he's ready to go. Mid-season form. It actually takes half a season for him to get to mid-season form. Once he reaches that, he's a good pitcher. I think Trevor's going to be fine.
Okay. So what do you think, how do you think the Pirates will finish wins-wise, and how do you think they'll finish in the NL Central?
I see this team as a little bit better than last year. I don't think they're a playoff team unless if things go horribly wrong for some. I do predict one team having a pretty bad year this year. It's actually, I think the Chicago Cubs are going to finish beneath the Pirates in the standings.
Wow.
I think that Chicago's due for an implosion. Just with not making any moves this offseason, I think Madden is on the hot seat. I don't see him surviving, next fall. Next offseason. I think the Pirates finished 3rd behind the Cardinals, who are my pick to win the World Series this year, and the Brewers. I think those 2 teams are just very talented. They're well coached. I think the Brewers have the best manager in baseball right now, and they have the reigning MVP. I don't know if their pitching is great, but I think they can overcome that with all the offense that they have in the ballpark that they play in. And like I said, I think the Cardinals are going to win the World Series. So those 2 teams make the playoffs. I think the Pirates finish with around 84, 85 wins, which, like I said, it's a couple game improvement from last year. I think we see some guys take steps up, but overall, I don't think they have enough talent to sneak into October. But I will say this: I mean, this is the progress that we wanted to see in 2016 and 2017 when we knew, that 3-year window of winning. It's like, okay, now it's time for the new group to come up. We've been waiting for this bridge year to happen. Last year is when the bridge year started. So if they can continue this progress, even if it doesn't mean the playoffs, if they can continue to build something, we should be excited. So,
do you see anyone coming from the minors? Do you think Keller will come up this year?
Yeah, I do. I think that, it's super rare. What is it, like 2017, they only had 6 different players start a game, or 6 different pitchers. That's like crazy rare. So, and then last year they didn't have that much either. I mean, they had Brault made a couple spot starts. You had Clay Holmes and some other guys here and there, but for the most part, it was you had Cool, you had Musgrove, you had Tyone, Williams, Archer, and who am I forgetting? I don't know. You had your main guys. It was my point. And Nova was the other guy I was forgetting. Sorry. So you had your main guys and not much else. But this year, someone's going to get injured for a little bit. And eventually, I think that if Keller is dealing, I know that they're going to be hesitant to bring him up too early for Super 2 stuff. I know that they're going to be hesitant to bring him up too early because the last time they had a stud pitcher that they rushed up to the majors, it didn't work out well in Tyler Glasnow. They ended up dealing him. They got Archer in return, and we'll see how that plays out. But they don't want to kind of ruin this guy before he's ready. And I think Keller should be ready this year. I at least hope he would be. And I'm excited to see him pitch. This is a big prospect you add him to the 4 that we have now, I think you're talking the best rotation in the major leagues. And if he can live up to his big hype. So that would be exciting. I would be very, very excited to see Ke'Bryan Hayes. I think Ke'Bryan Hayes should be the starting third baseman for this team now. I think if it was a different organization like the Houston Astros or the Atlanta Braves or someone who just the Washington Nationals who just doesn't care and doesn't overthink it and just lets the young kids go out there and play, this guy would be our starting third baseman. You'd have Jung Ho at second base and Frazier in right field right now, and we'd be ready to rock and roll. But that's not how it works. I hope to see Ke'Bryan. I think Ke'Bryan's going to be one of the best defensive players the Pirates have had in my lifetime.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Noah. Noah Hiles, Pirates pre- and post-game producer for 93.7 The Fan and co-host of River Blast Radio Podcast. Hey, thanks a lot, man.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate you having me on, and getting ready for the Pirates season. I hope to see everyone out at the ballpark this year.
All right, I'll see you.
All right, take care.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode. We'll be catching up on the Penguins with Dan Kongursky from Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Then we bring back our fantasy draft thing, do another Saturday Night Live episode, this one with specific Saturday Night Live players. So that should be interesting. Thanks again to Noah Hiles. Talk to you later. Another episode is in the bag.
Enable Ireland supports children with disabilities all over Ireland, just like me.
Support children like Kyle by popping your pre-loved clothes, accessories and homeware in a bag and donating it at any TK Maxx. Each bag could raise up to €20 for Enable Ireland. Give up clothes for good at TK Maxx.
And take action for children with disabilities.